Hello, my name is Benjamin, but you may call me Jam. And I'd like to take this opportunity to remind you that there is no entry fee or expected skill level when it comes to enjoying Exercises in Blue, a Magic the Gathering video series where I explore and experiment with all of the things that mono blue Magic can be by creating 99 different versions of the same mono blue commander deck. Each one of them absolutely unique, although most of them do prioritize drawing. This series is inspired by the prize-winning French writer Raymond Queneau and his book Exercices de Style, in which he takes a tiny, simple story and retells it 99 different ways. It's a delightfully creative accomplishment. But he didn't win a prize for that one. He won a prize for his debut novel, Le Chien d'An. And the prize that he won was the Prix des Deux Margots, which is for more unconventional literature, as opposed to the Prix Goncourt, which is France's larger, more mainstream literary award. And this makes me wonder, maybe for this series, I should be following in the footsteps of the greats, and turn to the most celebrated, most successful champions of Magic the Gathering for our next deck. And that's exactly what I've done. Created a mono blue commander deck composed entirely of cards that were brought to tournaments or brought to life by Magic the Gathering World Champions. They are an elite group, but not an exclusive group. You could join their ranks. There's really only one prerequisite. This is Exercises in Blue, and we're trying something new. We're drawing upon the legacy of over 30 different winners from 1994 to 2025. Every single card that we use comes from a first place World Championship deck or features the honorary likeness of a World Championship winner. The best of the best of the best. But does all that pedigree translate from Standard into Commander? Well, for starters, we need a card to be our Commander, and since the 2026 World Championship isn't until December, and Aether Drift is still technically Standard legal, there's a greater than 0% chance that the winning deck for this year might include Vinwixit Verbose Host, a 0/4 for only 2 mana, a legendary homunculus. With Vinwixit by your side, you can hold so many Jeskai lessons at the same time, and as soon as you hit max speed, you are doubling your card draw, which means you will never stop pumping up your Izzet prowess. However, our monocular Master of Ceremonies is mono blue, so there will be no slick shot show-offs, no Ral and his crackling wit. And regarding the crackerjack box that is Jeskai Revelations, we shall have to go without. But let's not jump to tragic conclusions, let's delay the inevitable with a stroll down memory lane. The decks from the 1990s really start us off strong. The very first ever World Champion gives us Mana Drain and Sol Ring, years ahead of its time. But mostly, we get lots of ways to copy our enemies' tools and threats, or we could just yoink one of them. The 1999 deck furnishes us with some great mana options, a couple of generators here that are still going strong, as well as 2 meaty game changers. It's an unexpected boon, I'll take it. The early aughts, on the other hand, toss us a few tricksy tools. Got some counter spells, some card draw, a couple of cantrips. Crucially, we must give a proper shout out to John Finkel, the winner of the World Championship from the distant past, the year 2000. Not only is he the only world champion to ever win with a mono blue deck, but he's the very first world champ who ever ran Basic Islands, which means that we get to use Basic Islands in this deck. Thanks, John. Don't think I could have pulled off this challenge without you. That said, we don't really have much in the muscle department. Pretty much limited to a shrapnel-spitting 4/4 who will die if it doesn't get to snack on my paperbacks, and an 8/8 golem with Proto-Menace who tends to sleep through its alarm clock but will wake up as soon as I sell a goddamn kidney, both of which were the bee's knees back in the bygone era of when Tinker was legal. On the bright side, Una's goons ruled the skies back in 2008, so while we are flat out broke when it comes to proper one-drop baby queens, we do at least have a few flying fairies on our side. We might even get to max speed before the checkered flag comes down. Now the 2010s on, very scattered, a real mixed bag. For every hell yes, there's about 2 to 3 I guess so's, all of which gets lost in the swirling seas of cards from World Champ winner decks that either don't really do much in Commander, or, increasingly, aren't blue at all. Focus. Stay focused. You can complain later. Good news, we get our first Planeswalkers. Jace the Mind Sculptor, Ugin the Spirit Dragon. Alright! Also got some Graveyard fun time with Snapcaster and the Gear Hulk. Commence the Endgame is here. Vinwixit loves a big hand. Could turn into a mighty zombie army. Another nice takeaway is that by the end of the 2010s, we now have access to Evolving Wilds and all 4 of the best island-finding fetch lands. It lets us thin out the deck and find the right tools faster. And that helps. Now, understandably, Worlds wasn't held in 2020. Social events weren't really in vogue that year. So this decade's worth of decks is humbler, both in its sheer roll call sheet and also in some of its guiding principles. I mean, we've got an extra turn spell. We got a land that can turn into a 7/7 giant for a turn. We've got a $50 land that can bounce a card, and a $60 Sphinx who increases our card draw if we have 1 or fewer cards in our hand. Not quite Vinwixit's tempo. Finally, there's Storm Chaser's Talent. For 1 mana, we get a 1/1 Otter with Prowess. For an additional 10 mana, we get not more Otters, but the chance to create more Otters with Prowess. Let's not prolong the point. This deck doesn't really have a linear way to win, which sadly makes sense. Blue Magic has showed up consistently in the World Championships, but from what I could find in my research, Blue Magic is not usually used to win games. It's used to find the win conditions, it's used to protect the win conditions, it's used to stop your opponents from firing off their win conditions, but all it ever does is pass the ball. It's usually some other color or combination of colors or lack of colors that gets to kick the goal. Now, I'm no tournament player and I'm no TCG historian. I'm a mortal with a day job. But looking at the way these World Championships seem to shake out, I feel all the more justified for including my win condition wizards. If I'm using a playstyle of Mischief and Whimsy, I better be prepared to win with Mischief and Whimsy. Not just annoy everybody else at the table and then get dogpiled for being the only player who didn't bring a conga line of value engines stapled onto a roster of Mortal Kombat characters. You know, this is why I struggle with competitive gaming in general. I get so caught up. The queasy embarrassment of winning, the volcanic frustration of losing. I'm really more of a co-op guy, which is why for this second deck I'd like to offer you a palate cleanser from the championships. This deck does not care about winning, but make no mistake, we are not throwing the game. There will be no king-making here, and if our plan goes perfectly, then there will be no losers either. No, this deck's ambition is absolute equality, desiring nothing less than a 4-way tie.
Settle for a draw. Well, you're not gonna get no more, so you should settle for a draw.
This is Exercises in Blue, so you know how we do. We've got 34 of those, 15 of these, leaving 50 spots left to pick as we please. Because the structure and the makeup of this deck is blessedly similar to the decks that we've done before, let's instead tackle the big philosophical questions of what and how. What precisely is the goal of this deck? We want a 4-way tie. Make the game an equilateral draw. An instantaneous, irrevocable stalemate. No winners, no losers. Not even a Platinum Angel will save you from this one. In fact, the only way to thwart a totally balanced game conclusion is if you knock out another player first, or if you concede before the game-ending spell or ability resolves. So you must either be a very impressive magician or an indisputable chump. Next big philosophical question: how do we propose to achieve this? Game-ending symmetrical effects. Turns out Wizards loves coming up with wacky alternate win conditions, but they're less committed to printing draw conditions on cards. There's a few cards out there that can do it. We'll get to those later, but for now, our best bet is X-cost spells and abilities. The two timeless classic ways to lose a game of Magic the Gathering come in the form of extreme states of deficiency. You either run out of life or run out of cards. In the Olympics of game-ending symmetrical X spells or abilities, blue comes in at a very respectable second place. Red, unsurprisingly, takes first place by having 6 different cards that can potentially deal infinite damage to all players at the exact same time. You might think, for being a color that specializes in widespread disease, pollution, torture, and death, that black would be a shoo-in for third place. But with only this death cloud and these rats, black actually falls behind green, a color that used to hate flying creatures so much that they would massively damage themselves if it meant they got to demolish dragons. And white didn't place. Doesn't have any. Now at the time of recording, who knows what kind of color warping chicanery they're going to serve us in Reality Fracture, blue does not have any means of dealing infinite X damage to anybody. And it doesn't need to, because blue has 5 different, equally lethal ways of making all players draw X cards at the same time. So our solution is simple: symmetrical card draw plus infinite mana equals conclusive equality. And for the rules lawyers out there, worry not, I brought receipts. Let's look at prosperity. If both players run out of cards during this effect, the game is a draw. The fun part is that depending on your personal preferences or your playgroup's power level, you can adjust this deck's bracket to whatever you want it to be. So far this series has mostly been bracket 2, with a couple of kooky pepperings of bracket 4 now and then. So just to mix things up, I currently have our quick draw deck at bracket 3 with only 3 game changers. Obviously a bracket 4 deck would appreciate the high powered mana and the no cost counterspells, but if we had to limit ourselves to 3 game changers, the mono blue tutors are perfect for our super aggressive stalemate strategy. The whole point of dilemma spells like Intuition or Gifts Ungiven is that the opponent's choice is irrelevant. Whichever card or cards we end up with should be a massive advance to our game state. And whether it's a missing piece of an Infinity Engine or a game-stopping draw X card spell, these tutors bring us one step closer to realizing everyone's victory. Links to both decks will live down in the video description. If you have any suggestions for this deck, any words of encouragement or wise advice, any messages of love that you'd like to leave, please do. During these years of challenges and hardship, it means a lot to know that somebody's out there getting a chuckle out of all this. I used to start these videos by acknowledging the possibilities of burnout or getting distracted, and those possibilities are as real as ever. But for now, it's still sustainable, it's still fun, and you may still call me Jam. And for those of you watching and or listening, I thank you for your time and attention. Mwah. May I share with you the few Magic the Gathering cards that tie the game? To the best of my Scryfall searching ability, I have found 6 cards that fit this category. Now, a couple of these do require some extra finagling in order to function. Celestial Convergence can make the game a draw, but it does require that 2 players are tied for highest life total. Triskaidekaphobia would need all 4 players to have exactly 13 life when its ability resolves. Hilarious if you come into it by chance, exhausting if you're trying to do it on purpose. But they're still more official than Dear Princess Twilight Sparkle, an Azorius Alicorn and 5-color commander who needs 5 specifically named cards in order for every pony to win the game. Or there's Xenagos Ascended, a PvE creature card in a game variant challenge deck from a seasonal tournament held in 2014. I'm moving on. By far, the easiest way is to use Divine Intervention. 8 mana, 2 upkeeps, call it a day. And finally, there is the celebration card, Proposal, which allows Richard to propose marriage to Lily. If the marriage is accepted, both players win. Now, there's no errata or rulings for this card, so in a 4-player game like Commander, is it possible to defy this card's monogamous and heteronormative implications by attempting to form a 4-person polycule? Maybe, but that might only work in a game where there's a 3-to-1 ratio of players named Richard to players named Lily, or vice versa. Which begs the question, can you legally change your name while a spell or ability is on the stack?